Hey, welcome back to another episode of Crochet and Chat. My name is Nicole Bandis. This is Off the Hook with Nicole, and I am coming to you from West Virginia near the New River Gorge. So I'm really excited. Yesterday we did the bridge walk across the gorge. Actually, you know what? I think I might throw up a picture or two for you so you can see some of the things that we're doing. Today we did a motorcycle ride out to Greenbrier and we did the bunker tour. During the Cold War, the bunker was the fallout shelter for all of Congress. So it is hidden in this absolutely stunning hotel that was built in, I think, the 1910s. But then somewhere around 1960 something, I think it was. I have to get the date for you. They added on an addition, but that addition had a secret bunker added to it so that they could have a place for all of Congress to go should the Cold War actually come to fruition and bombing start happening and fallout need to be, all of these people. So it was really kind of a cool, neat little tour. And of course, it's a beautiful place around here. We did the bike ride. But today I am going to be starting a new project. And I thought that even though I only do these videos once a week, I thought I would take you along step by step on that project with me as I'm crocheting and chatting with you. And the project that I'm going to be working on is called the Tank Top Sleeveless Free Crochet Pattern from Make It Crochet. And I'll add that for you down below so that you have the link to that. This was actually added on in February of this year, so it's actually a fairly new pattern. I have not tried this yet, so I'm excited about kind of doing a little bit of a pattern along with you. While you may not choose to do the pattern, you can at least see what it's like for me. For me, usually the hardest part of a pattern is at the beginning. I have to try it 3 or 4 times. I usually frog it 3 or 4 times before I really get the flow going. But once I get going, then it's usually pretty easy for me. But it's the getting started part that I have a lot of trouble with. So I'm starting from the very beginning. I have purchased the yarn for this. The yarn suggestion on this, let me pull that up, is another name for this is the Orange Blossom Sleeveless Tank Top. I think that's how I found it in Ravelry. It is set as, well, it's got kind of 4 bars and 2 of the bars are covered, so it's considered easy but not beginner. And it says it's going to be an estimated 8 hours to make this. Let's see how close I am to that. So the pattern calls for the King Cole bamboo cotton yarn size 3. And I purchased the 24/7 Lion Brand DK Sparkle. So it is a size 3. It is all cotton, I believe. Nope, it's 98% cotton and 2% polyester. Polyester probably being the sparkle. And it calls for, depending on the size, anywhere from 3 to 6 skeins of 100-gram size. So I got 3. I don't think I'll need 4, hopefully, for my size. And it suggests an H 5mm hook, which is probably one of the hooks that I use the most. And then, of course, a needle for weaving in, but we will do that at the end. Now, we get to find the center pull of this, hopefully without too much yarn barf. Isn't this a pretty color? This is called Truffle. And I thought with the sparkle, even though it's a tank top, it would add just a little bit of fun class to it. I am not going to get out of this without the yarn barf. Yeah, I think that kind of looks like a hornet's nest or something. I don't know. Anyway, this says to begin project, make the back of the bodice in a bottom to top direction, and the front is made separately, and then you sew them together at the shoulders. One round of trim is applied to the armholes and the neckline to make everything look secure and block as desired. We are trying to get to the end of this, which I don't see. So we'll keep going. Cancel out some of these ads. I love the free patterns, and I appreciate the fact that they put time and effort into it, and the way that they are able to offer them to us for free is by displaying ads. So as annoying as those ads are, it's the trade-off for me getting a free pattern. So as much as I would, and occasionally I do pay for patterns, it just depends on what I see. Like this one, oh, hold on, gonna sneeze. Oh, that was a big one. This one is available as a PDF if you don't like the having to deal with the ads. So that's definitely an option there. Okay, so then we've got some notes. If you want to make it a little bit more modest, you can do more at the bottom. There's a lace portion that's easy to adjust. And we can pin it. Oops, come on. There we go. The model size is intended to fit a 34 bust. That's a size small, with no ease. The pattern is written for sizes small, medium, large, 1X, 2X, and 3X. So for me, the first number in all instructions will be for the smallest size in the second section. That's pretty typical. So you get, in the pattern, it gives you different numbers, and the different numbers tell you what sizes. So my bust size tends to be kind of right in the middle between medium and large. This pattern has no ease whatsoever, which means it's probably going to be a little bit more snug fitting. But at the same time, I've noticed that I tend to be a looser crocheter. So with that, I then end up having that challenge of it, if I make it to size, it fits me once, and then as soon as that goes on, it stretches out. So I'm inclined to make kind of a loose fitting medium, and maybe, I don't know, I'll have to go and see. This is the challenge for me with clothing, is I'm really right in between those sizes. Frankly, right now I'm actually kind of closer to the large because we've been eating a lot of really good food on this road trip. But I would prefer to be closer to the medium. So I think I'm going to go ahead with this is a tough one.
So hard decisions must be made.
No, you know what? I did that on the last one, and it's just a little bit too tight, I think. So I'm going to go with the large on this one, and we'll try and crochet it a little bit tighter. So let's see if this has a gauge on here anywhere. Using larger hook, 17 single stitches for 17 rows should measure a 4x4. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with that. So we're going to do our slip stitch, and we're going to do 17 single stitches for 17 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, have you tried the chainless rose yet? The chainless foundation? I tried it once, and I just was not getting it, so I had to kind of give up the ghost on that one for the time being, because I didn't have the patience right then and there to actually work on it. So I gave it up, and I said I'll work on it later. So for now, I am still doing the traditional chain. Oh, and I did these way too tight. I'm not going to be able to get this hook through. Oh, there we go. I'm doing the traditional chain 17 and then do your first row. If you've done that other one, let me know. Did you get it figured out? If there's a good video or tutorial that you use to really help you master that, let me know. I'd love to see what those are. Because there are, you know, if you just Google, I think it's like chainless foundation crochet, then you're going to get a bunch of different tutorials on it. And some of those are for single chain, some of them are for double chain or double single crochet or double crochet, and you just kind of go from there. But like I said, I haven't actually tried it yet. Well, I have tried it, and it was just a little too challenging for me to kind of figure out in the headspace I was at that moment. Do you find that you can crochet different things at different points in time? Like, I know that there are some times where I can put, you know, I can really focus my energy and attention, and I can work on a much harder pattern and think through different things. And then there's other times where I'm like, I just need to move my hands while I'm watching TV or while we're driving down the road. And I need something that's really super simple and basic, where I don't need to try and figure out a freaking pattern. Uh, what do you think? Do you kind of follow that? All right, so I didn't bring my tape measure out. I do not think that is going to be 4 inches.
It does not look good.
Let's keep going for at least a few more rows, and we will see what it happens. I have done the like, if you're doing a square, like on this pattern, it's probably not going to matter too much, but if you're doing something like a blanket or a washcloth, and you want to have edges that are much less the heck, this is a little challenging. The yarn makes it hard to kind of see the pattern in this a little bit, because it's got that little sparkle in it. So it's messing with my eyes just a little bit, but I think I've got it. Anyway, as I was saying, the tip on making the edges of square items less wavy, so that you don't get the kind of bumpy as you're twisting and doing your chains and then turning your work. There is a tip for doing that I've seen, and if I If I remember, I'll put that in the show notes. If not, and you want to see it, comment below and I'll try and find it for you and then share it with you. But there's a tip for getting the less bumpy edges, and I have tried that on something that I was working on, and it actually worked really well. So it's definitely something that I'm going to have to do more of, because I don't have that particular concept memorized. So I'd have. Okay, so this is part 2. I was editing the video and realized that my microphone on the last one decided that it was going to run out of battery, and I did not know that. So I had about 30 minutes of stuff recorded that I no longer have. So we're doing this again, and I'm hoping upon hope, because right now it's sunny, blue skies. You'd think that the weather would be absolutely perfect, but it has been raining for 2 days now, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. In fact, as I was setting up, there was some drizzly rain. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the rain, the skies hold up right now long enough for me to get this finished so I can get it edited and out to you tomorrow, because tomorrow is when I normally would publish this. And I had been working on it earlier in the week and ran across that issue. So we're hoping. Now, I was going to check to try and remember where it was that the audio cut out and see what I didn't include. And I'm not entirely sure. I know I did a gauge swatch, and I don't think that I covered, I think that got cut. But just to kind of to reiterate, the gauge swatch is really important as you're doing these things. If you don't have a gauge swatch, everything's going to be off. Now, I did do the gauge swatch on this, and I came up with what I was comfortable with. So the point that I'm at right now, I did my first row of stitches, which, let me get to the right space here. I think I was doing 89 stitches for the size that I'm looking for, or 89 chains. And now it is, to continue on with row 1, it is to do single chains or single stitches from the hook in each remaining. So I should have 88 when I am complete with that. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're just going to pick up from there. I know that there's a lot of really great content that I shared, and I'm going to miss getting to share that with you. But that's how these things go sometimes. You know, nothing's perfect in life. We have to let ourselves off the hook and accept. So sometimes things are going to go bad, and that's part of life. We all have situations where things go bad. When we first started this RV trip, we were 1 week into it, and we had so many things that went wrong. My husband and I were literally in tears every single day, and had that tough conversation of, are we done? Should we turn around and go home? And if we hadn't hooked up with our travel besties, who is my husband's sister and her husband, the very next day, there is a good chance that we would have turned around and gone home right then and there, and missed out on. So far, we are a little more than 4 weeks in. So we've had 3 weeks of really great activities, really great times, a lot of fun, lots of things. Actually, we might be more like 5 weeks in. So because we had 4 weeks with them. So I think we're closer to 5 weeks in, maybe even working on 6. So sometimes you have to like just let yourself off the hook, take things for a grain of salt, realize that, the philosophy that I came up with was, if it's fixable, it's not stressable. So what are you looking at in your crochet, in your life, that is totally fixable? So you need to stop stressing over it. It's just not worth the stress. And sometimes we stress about things that aren't even true yet. Like, oh my gosh, after all of that happened, after, all of that stuff broke down, it was like every time we'd travel on the road, I'd start getting all stressed out about what were we going to find the next time we opened up the rig? What damage was going to be done the next time? And that got pretty scary and, really challenging, because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to go on the road now because I'm afraid of what is going to happen. I'm pausing here because I'm having a hard time finding my place. Tension is really important in these starting chains. I think I did mention that in the first video recording, but I don't think that got included. I think that's part that the audio went bleep and decided it was not going to participate. So as you're doing those starting chains, really focus on your tension and make sure that you're being consistent. One of the tips that I learned when I first started crocheting was to do 100 chains, a chain of 100 stitches, 100 chains, or a chain with 100 chains in it, you know what I mean, for 100 days. And when you do that, I mean, even if you're crocheting other things at the same time, do that, because that's going to help you to be more consistent with the overall tension that you're working on. I'm going to move this, so maybe there's a possibility, if my hands aren't in the way, you can see a little bit of what I'm doing. Probably not, but that's not really the focus of this video, so it's okay if you can't. To improve your consistency, practice doing nothing but chains over and over and over and over and over again. I'm a huge fan of Malcolm Gladwell, and he has a book. Not going to remember what it's called now, or at least which book this was in, because I've read several of his. But he talks about, you're not an expert until you've done something for 10,000 hours. Can you imagine 10,000 hours of doing anything? I mean, besides sleeping, I think I might be an expert at sleeping, but anything past that, that is a tremendous amount of time to do something. So even if you don't reach what he considers that expert status, the more time you put into doing something, the better you're going to get. And if you do the same thing repetitively, yeah, it gets a little tedious, but that's how you improve. Practice makes perfect. So just keep practicing and keep working on those skills. And when you struggle with something, let yourself off the hook. It's okay to pick up, something else, or to try and learn it from a different method. If you're really committed to it, don't give up. Just keep trying and finding new ways to practice it, or new ways to try and, find out how it's going to work for you. That's kind of how things are going in that. We are currently in Virginia, which is our 29th state in the RV. So we have visited 29 states in our RV, which to me seems like a lot. Like, we've been doing this now for 4 years and we visited 29 states. I mean, we're halfway through the we're more than halfway through the lower 48 states. So that's pretty amazing. We still have some to go. We'll actually hit um, 2 more states, I think. 2 more states on this trip. So we'll end this trip with 31 states, I think. And what did we do here? I went and visited the Edgar Allan Poe Museum.
Quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
Have you ever been? Is that like I've been a horror buff my whole life. I can remember the first book over 100 pages that I ever read was a Stephen King book. I think it might have been Carrie. And the first book over 1,000 pages was it, for sure. So I've read quite a few Stephen King books in my life, and have read several other horror authors. I still really like horror books, although not probably as much as I used to. But a lot of that, a lot of horror authors are inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. What I did not know is that he also wrote things like science fiction and detective mysteries. So I'm going to have to check out some more of his work. He was a very fascinating individual. If you're ever in the Richmond area and you get a chance to go, my husband doesn't really care for horror stuff, and he doesn't read that much. So that side of it, he was a little like, I'll go because you want to go, but what's there for me to enjoy? And he actually really liked it. So Edgar Allan Poe is a very fascinating individual, all the way up until the fact that nobody really knows what killed him. His death is a complete and utter mystery, and I don't know. Maybe he was leaving his last story unsolved on purpose. But it's kind of an interesting tale. And then, if you've been watching, you know that we did visit Gettysburg, obviously, because I got the hat to prove it. And so we also, as we're here in Richmond area, we went and visited the White House of the Confederacy, just to kind of give a little bit more of that picture and see where the Confederacy kind of did their major masterminding and, all that kind of interesting stuff. So that was a really interesting home as well. Not so much from the perspective of the Civil War, but just, honestly, I love architecture and decor. And to me, it was fascinating that when that home was built, it was a very well-to-do home, and yet they had faux marble, faux tile floors, faux trim moldings and things like that. And while we would look at that as a cheap, knockoff way of adding those features, the technology to create those back then was so cutting edge that was actually considered very high end and very prestigious to be able to afford faux finishes, as much as it was if you could pay for real finishes. So the house is actually quite interesting from the perspective of something that we consider pretty cheesy, and a cheap knockoff today was once upon a time considered pretty high end. So I find that fascinating. Oops, got hooked on a little bit of the glitter on this. The shiny ribbon, sparkly ribbon. All right, guess what? We finished row 1. And as I said, I am going to do this video. I'm going to do this pattern. Each time I get together with you, I'm going to record more of the pattern, doing the pattern, and just sitting down and having a conversation with you. So hopefully I'll be able to do this on a weekly basis. Obviously, it just depends on my travel and what kind of internet I have and all that good stuff. So next week, we will do row 2. We'll see how long that takes. Maybe we'll continue from there. If you'd like to do this kind of as a crochet along with me, then I will put the link to the pattern below, and make sure that you follow, you subscribe, you hit that notification bell, because the notification bell tells you when each episode comes out, and we'll do it together. If you just want to watch and, see what I have to say, then that's great too. And I love you and I appreciate you for it. But if you like this pattern and you want to do it with me, that would be kind of cool. We can do it together as a little bit of a crochet along. So I will see you next week. And if you're struggling this week, let yourself off the hook. It's totally okay.